going. Is there a way to share? Yes. Is there a thing for broadcast TV? Alrighty. Get that on Twitter. Can I resize this? Of course not. So why is it? All right. Capture moments as they happen. Yep. This is probably why. Testing. Oh, that's really low volume. Let's fix this. Is it like this? And they don't like my bit rate. This should be better. Fuck it, we'll just crank it all the way up. All right, so I'm working on RestCSV, which is my. Need to mute this so I don't hear it in my ears. Sorry. So I'm building or working on RestCSV, which is a service I recently launched, which can take your CSV file and it'll convert it to a RESTful API that you can begin using in literally seconds. This sort of came out of a need of my own. It seems like every project nowadays that at some point you're going to have to do something with a CSV file. And I was so tired of writing all this import code, and I was like, you know what, how about I just create a service that could just at least get it to me as an API, and then that way I don't have to put a file in my code base or anything. I don't have to put data in the database. I can use that CSV for whatever purpose. And so that's what led to creating REST CSV. And so I'm working on the actions feature. So actions is going to be think of this as a cool way to have control over your data in your CSV, meaning that you can have all the abilities you can imagine. You could do formulas, you could split columns, merge columns, you could format data, you could do webhook calls. There's like a lot of stuff, right? And so yesterday I shared a little bit of a code snippet because I was able to essentially define my little prompt and take a CSV, and then what it did is that it took like the name column, it split it into first name, last name. It took out all the unnecessary spaces that was in the text for like email addresses. Then it took these oddly formatted phone numbers and it converted them to was it E.1? Is it 168? It's basically the one that Twilio uses, and so it formatted that. So I have something, at least at a testing level, built, but we need to start building out the actual API for this because we currently don't have this inside of our API file here. So we're going to introduce a new controller, And I'll do this just so y'all can kind of go along with me here. So we're going to make a controller. We're going to put in the API namespace. And this will be called the action controller. And then we'll make this an API endpoint. So what we're going to do, and I do this just sort of my little process whenever I'm doing code. So we have the controller, but now we need to make a test for this. And then I believe, yeah, that's it. So we're going to call this API controller test. And so when I write my test, I like to let the test kind of guide me in everything that I do. So you're going to learn about Laravel, you're going to learn about coding, and then you're going to be able to keep an eye on your boy here while I build this thing. And hopefully we get some people here maybe in a little bit. I tweeted this on Twitter. So some of the things that we need to do, we need to basically test the index, the storing, the updating, showing, and then the destroying of action records. And so we're going to kind of break this down here. So we're going to start with the index. I'm going to move this other stuff down to the bottom. And I'm going to say should return actions. How did I do my other test? Follow my convention here. So we'll call this, okay, I see what I did. So we're going to say should list actions. And then we're going to have our endpoint, which we're going to want this to be route API actions index. And then we're going to do a get to that. Now, of course, when we first start doing our test here, we do expect things to fail. But I like to let the test guide everything I do. And, it's a good practice to do as a developer. There's no other way you're going to be that confident, right? So, all right, so our first test obviously breaks is we don't have this route defined in our API routes file. So I'm just going to go up here and I'm going to say route API resource. We're going to say actions, and then we're going to go for our action controller. And given that this is Laravel, this automatically creates, entries and automatic aliases so we can access this. So at least we have it here. Run our test again. So we should start getting some different messaging here. So expected response status, status code 200 received 202. And this is going to be because this uses Laravel Sanctum. So I'm going to go up here. We're just going to copy this one over. And what I'm copying, pasting just a little bit of some boilerplate. We're going to do an action. Actually, okay. So I'm not going to do this just yet. We're not going to do this yet either. And I have a middleware that is used to control who can have access to this API. So this is going to be with part of the RestCSV Preimum. So what we're going to do here is, at least when we test, we're going to exclude the middleware. That way it doesn't try to enforce it. That way we can just keep our test a little simple. So we're going to run this again. We might get a 200 here, at least I'm hoping we do. But if we don't, we'll keep going for it. Okay, and that's because I didn't import the user up here. Why is it not recommending it? Come on. Heck with it. Use app models user. And we're going to run it again. feel free to put any messages in the chat. More than happy to talk to y'all while I code. All right, so at least now we're getting a passing test. So close this one out. We have our route, so we know we're good there. All right, so we get that. So of course we can kind of shorten this up a little bit. And I know, Pest has its own way of, just where it's sort of like a get helper, but it doesn't really matter to me right here. So then we're going to sit there and say asserts a JSON structure, which in our case, our goal is going to be to, what did I do? Okay. So we're going to have like a data, and then we're going to have like a row of data. So let's just sort of aim for this. Obviously, when we run our test, it's going to break because the structure is not there. All right. And so far, this is everything that we're expecting. So we're going to action controller. Okay, so we already have the other thing. So what we want to do in my action goes off the user ID. Okay, sweet. So all we got to do is return. Actually, we're going to do, actions. And since we're going to be doing this, we're going to say request the user actions, and we're going to say paginate. And for now, we're just going to return that because we're going to have to build in collections, or not collections, but the API resource for it. So, which is true because in my user model, this doesn't have a relationship for actions. Isn't GitHub Copilot freaking awesome? All right. Asserting that an array has a key of 0. All right. So we need to get some data in here, and this is where I could do this one. All right, so we should at least, actually when we run this, we're probably going to get an issue on the action factory because I can't remember. Okay, no, maybe I did define it. Action factory, let's do this for my memory. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so now that we have that returning the structure, we're going to need to create a resource for this. Make resource API action resource. All right. So we're going to call this actions, and then we're going to say action resource collection of actions. We're going to run our test again. Okay, so at least we're passing on that. So this is where we're going to have to move on to store. And this is where we're going to do another one. Should create a action. Hey, buddy, Jose. How are you doing, my friend? It's been a while. Yeah, it's nice to kind of be back to streaming and stuff. Everything in my life is kind of finally in the right place now, so I can kind of like start doing this again. So it's exciting stuff. And then we want to build a payload. All right, so for the action, okay, so I need to sit there and say for the prompt, should do something. We don't really care about the accuracy of some of the stuff. So then we'll sit there and say this could apply to phone numbers. And I don't want to say it doesn't apply to something right now. You just want to get this data into the database. Alrighty. So run our test again. All right, what failed now? All right. So we need to get some validation going on here. So we're going to say request validate. And then I'm just going to do this. Save me just a few seconds. So we're going to say required string. And then we'll say, if it's populated, it'll be an array. So now when we run it, we'll break it again. All right. Valid JSON. Oh, I need to take, we'll say assert created. What's going on here? API action store and valid JSON returned from the route. And it's a post. What's going on here? All good. Thank you. Glad you're back on the track. I knew you could do it. Always loved your live coding content. Yeah. Thank you so much there, Jose, man. You're awesome. Yeah, back when I did Livestream, I might have held a record for a while there for the most live streams about Laravel. I think before I had to shut the service down, I think I was like at 100 or something. But yeah, these are always fun. Always fun. Invalid JSON. What am I doing wrong? Invalid JSON was returned. Okay, what's the body? Body doesn't exist. Somebody's going to see this and be like, it's right in front of you, Jordan. How about we just do this? Okay, so we're not even getting to this. Did I mistype something? API action store. API actions, API action store, API action controller store. My test is excluding. That's the listed. I want to create API action store payload. I don't understand why it's failing. Let's clear this out. The body does not exist. Right. But JSON returns nothing. Fuck it. I'm just going to write this again. Sometimes you just got to reset and try again. So if I say post endpoint, we're just going to do an empty array. Assert created. And I know I didn't pass the payload. I just poised. And we're doing it live. Okay. So the prompt field. Okay. I am the prompt. Now we'll pass the payload. We'll run it again. What does assert successful? I don't care right now. Let's see here. Okay, so it calls it a 200. I don't understand why it's returning a 200. I thought created was 201. Oh well. And then we're going to sit there and say structure, and then created at, updated at, deleted at. Run it again just to make sure I didn't miss something. And of course I typoed. Of course. Yeah, it's like I'm addicted to testing. And okay, so now we're back to this sort of thing, and that's probably because it's passing it, but we got to create one. So create which one is it? Request. I can't remember which one, because like normally if you use like the HTTP class, it gives you a validated one. Maybe it's just that. I bet you it's just going to be that. And then we're going to do the action resource make action. All right. All right. Oh, that's right. Got to give it a UUID. You know what? I do the UUIDs for several things. We probably need to can you stack, somebody correct me, can you stack observers upon one another? So what I need to do is create a model UUID observer. UUID of, I don't like where this is going. It seems like it needs to become That needs to be a trait. That's what we need to do. You know what? Let's just not complicate anything for now. Lost my train of thought. Sorry. UUID. Okay. We'll just do this. UID. Alrighty. I am so tired. About it's probably been a month and a half ago. We adjusted my mental health medication, and we reduced the dosage. And I've kind of been having some withdrawals, and so I haven't been sleeping well. So like I was up at 3:30 this morning. It was brutal. Okay, what did it not like? Okay, that one's on me. That one's on ya, boy. So I'm a little tired. Oh, yeah, that whole thing. You know what? I don't care about this right now. I'll care about it when we get to the deleted. All right. All right, so we have the create. You know what? I want to make showing update. Oh, I hate it when it does this. Okay. Here we go. And then we already have this action from above. We don't need a payload. And then this would be a get. And that's probably because I don't have. So we're going to do a request. Action. Return action resource. Action. I'll explain in a minute why I'm putting these requests in here. But this should at least get us to a pass and test. All right, so copy this. I guess I forgot to past that model switch on the command when I made this earlier. We're eventually going to do a return, and then we want to do this. Values, and then we'll just tap that action, update values. And then I want to copy this one since it has payload. Should update action. Action. Yep. And this would be a put. Is it assert updated? That isn't. I always forget these. Fuck it. All right. And then since this one is the easier of these two, we will do destroying. Which that's going to fail because we don't have it updated just yet. This would be an action resource. Awesome. And all right, let me check my site, which I technically need to make it to where y'all could see this. I didn't think of this. You know, it's been a minute. CSV.test docs API. I guess I could add this to here. How do I do this? Window capture. No. Well, anyhow, I'm looking on my my API docs, the thing that generated. I'm gonna have to update some of these. And that's because and I'm having to do this it's because the documentation generator goes off of these. And so if I want my documentation to look good, you know what? I am going to put this window on here. Let's say window, no. Browser source. Oh, nope. General display capture. Okay, can I? do I... here we go. And so, as I was saying, it over here on the sidebar, see if I can make this bigger. So when I, let me refresh. So it brought in actions, and so it has to, they have to be kind of written to where this is how they show up. And then I always like to go in here and just see what it looks like, just to kind of be sure that I've not missed something. And so a little thing that I do, because one thing I don't want to show is the actual ID number of the action. And you might be saying, well, why does that matter? Well, you know, people that are very intelligent when it comes to how software works, they're pretty good at understanding what the numbers mean, like their significance, and so if they know your ID numbers, they could easily predict the truth to that number. So let's say they find an endpoint being called and it says users, and then it has ID number 1, and it's the latest date. Well, then they only have one user, right? You can really come to a conclusion, and so you don't want people to know the true numbers, right? And so what I prefer to kind of do is just basically hide those IDs from the response. And why does my... Was it because I was doing that? No. PHP Storm. There we go. Okay. It was looking weird on my screen. Sorry. So I always prefer to hide those IDs. And if I go back and I think, now I'm upset that I ever got rid of my Stream Deck. Let's see here. So if I go back and I refresh, so now ID does not show up here, which is good. But that's why we view the documentation and all that. So that looks fine. And frankly, I should probably write some stuff into the description to where, what was an example? Ooh, I need to fix that. See, we're finding bugs while writing documentation. All right, so they had an issue with CSV controller. So undefined variable premium. Okay. This is store. Is premium anywhere else? Nope. I wonder if I do that. Yahtzee. Still got it. All right. So, which one is it? Is it search? I don't know. One of these. Here we go. How this one has this extra bit of description. I should probably go in there and, I don't know, maybe clean that up a bit. I don't know. Sounds... Oh, and here I am saying this, and I ain't even showing the screen. So this is the part I was talking about where you can add this extra bit of stuff. I'm going to get that Stream Deck set back up. Alrighty. So we're back. Okay. So we got that going. We got the API documentation. Now, given that we're making this is just so we can get the action into RestCSV, but now we have to. Now I do have the job that could execute an action. So CSV action. Okay, so I have a job. I just haven't done anything with it. Oh, that's right, because forgive my daughters. Probably won't be long. Probably gonna have to hop off here, but we're making progress. So that's how I got that. But I need to add an action in which, sometimes it's hard when you have these systems that like write your API documentation for you because, and I'm gonna have to make sure my browser's back up, is so if I wanted to add an action here, in order to get it to show up here, if I'm not mistaken, I have to add it as essentially another method in my controller, which is not normally how you want to stick to the REST pattern, RESTful design pattern as much as you can. But in that sort of scenario where it's like, oh, we want to show up in the documentation, but you know what? We could experiment with some. I'm pretty sure it won't let me. But you know what? Let's not fight that. That's not the victory today. The victory is just getting more code written. All right, so we got that. So we're going to go to Action Controller, and then we're just going to say, well, let's think about this for a second. If I add an endpoint that's called execute, yes, you could execute an action. But then we said to say, okay, what could the action go against? Well, it could go against a row or multiple rows or the entire CSV, okay? So technically, you could only execute it against a CSV or a CSV row at the end of the day. So that's your two types. Okay, so if I'm making this where you have an action, it's called endpoint, action endpoint. If you make a post to that, you're saying you want to execute the action. And then in the payload, you would have to provide, and we'll just call it a actionable ID or type, sort of like how the polymorphic stuff is in Laravel. And then you could do a validation against either of those. And then if that passes everything, that kicks off the job. Okay, I think I have an idea what we're going to do here. So I'm just going to let this thing do it like this. And I'm just going to comment that out. I just want us to get our... Just want to make progress here. Execute. Should execute action. Okay. And then technically, well, in one situation, if you're doing against a CSV, that only means you just need to provide the CSV. If you're only doing it against a CSV row, technically you could have multiple rows. So let's, so we'll call it CSV, let's call it CSV payload. I'm just working my way through thoughts. So if now, I guess that also means that it could be multiple CSVs, right? And then you could have and their UUIDs. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever. It could be that. 9, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So that's what it would look like if it's okay. So they could do multiple CSVs, and then technically it could be rows. Same thing. Each row has a UUID. Okay. Oh, snap. We got a good handful of people watching. Forgive me for all my ramblings. I'm working my way through thoughts and trying to figure out what to do here. So if I was, for a second I thought it almost crashed. So RestCSV just got a new visitor on the site. So if I was going to write the rule, so it could be CSVs. Technically, that would be an array. And then the other would be rows. And then this would be required without rows. And then this one would be required without CSVs. Okay, so we're going to take the rule, get that rule, and so technically, if I pass the row payload plus the CSV payload, and we make it a post, we should break some shit. Operation break shit is underway. Oh wait, did we add the endpoint? Of course not. Okay, so all right. So now we just need to say route post actions execute. All right. We should be getting somewhere now. There we go. There we go. But why did it not break? We should have broke that damn thing. Why did it not break? What am I missing here? Is it the order? CSVs required without rows. Rows is required without CSVs. What am I missing? And where does that take us? To the docs. We'll open up a new tab. Validation. The field under validation must be present and not empty. If any other specific are present and not empty. How about we do this? Nope. We got going on here. We got new visitor. So let's look at that test. There should be a combined payload. Take a look at this thing. And it is. I don't understand because it says the field under validation, CSVs, must be present and not empty when any of the other fields are empty or not present. I don't know, y'all. Maybe I'm just too tired for this. I don't know. I do not know. You know what? Sometimes if you just want to make progress, just do the things that matter. UI, UUID. Oh, and that would not be this. That would be like this. To UUID. Yeah, I'm probably going to call it here in a few minutes. Must be a valid UUID, and mine probably was not. Isn't there like a string helper? I don't really care right now. UUID. You get a UUID. Of course. Must be a valid UUID. I don't think that has anything to do with it, but I could be wrong. It is a Wednesday, and that's what it was. And I know there's a faker thing for pest. Doesn't matter. But it did let us do both, which is fine. Because my thought process was, they pass it with CSVs, I can just go CSV to rows. But let's say they give you the CSVs, so they give you CSV and rows. I don't like that. I don't like that approach. I think it's got to be one or the other. I don't know. I'm tired. So I'm going to close this thing out. Jose, it was good getting to kind of hang out with you, buddy. I'm tired. It's been a long day. Probably be better at this tomorrow. So till then, thank y'all. Take care.